Hello, everyone, and welcome to your weekly dose of truth tarot. And this week, what are we going to do? Let's look at what lesson is the world being asked to learn right now. This is for the week of August 6th to the 13th of August. So, this is a Persephone tarot deck. It's got mostly female characters. So, there you go. And we're going to look at what lesson is the world being asked to learn right now. I want to do a wee bit of a shuffle, but then I'm just going to select as we go along. Let's see, let's select. All right, Priestess of Cups. So we are looking towards our intuition. We are looking, when you think of intuition, it's a gut response, usually a very strong reaction to something. So maybe it's time we look towards the gut rather than always being in the head. Now, that doesn't mean that the head is less important, but in Chinese medicine, as we know, the small intestine, gut, brain is also the intellect. So when you think of it that way, it's great at discerning, but it also has that gut response, right? So this is really looking at that intuition. I was having a discussion actually with my weekly. Um, Actually, this was the biweekly group. We were working with Atmavacharya, which is self inquiry, and we were just looking at what, how does intuition speak, and everyone kind of came up with a, hand movement like this. It speaks like this. It just gives this automatic, kind of quick reaction. So, when I'm doing this reading, every word that's, well, no, not every word. Sometimes I get a bunch of words and I just kind of go, ew, I don't really like how that feels. It's not strong. That can also mean there's a less of a probability of what I'm saying being correct. And it can also be my own filters, of course. So we always take those things into account, like everyone has their own viewpoints towards things. I have the things that I've studied in the past, things I'm interested in, things I focus on. So I'm going to be filtered in that direction just as anyone else is. So what we were doing is examining how it speaks, and sometimes you'll get a person who sits back and goes, well, it has this faint voice and I hear it saying words, etc. No, that's your head. That's your head talking. The gut is very different. So even though these words are coming out of me that right now, sometimes I think, and when I think, I really can speak. I start speaking really slowly. But when I'm going along just yammering away as I see the priestess and how she's holding up that cup and really in tune with what's going on. By the way, this deck has priestess in all the suits. It's not just the just a singular card. So the priestess in this case is the one who understands or experiences or intuits emotion a lot better. And if you recall last week, we were looking at indolence, the Eight of Cups, which was talking about how we are not really experiencing the depth. So the priestess, when she's intuitive, when she's in her gut, she knows how to kind of, let's say, swim through a stormy sea or bring calm to things because she's using her intuition. You could say she's like, has a little bit of that dynamic of Cassandra, who is a seer, and in Troy, and as she's running through Troy, I always relate to Cassandra because when I was younger, I had less wisdom than I do now, and I just thought everyone would want to know their future, and everyone would want to know when they're headed for a brick wall, and they would want to know that something is not going to work out for them, and they could avoid it. How silly of me! That was absolutely, yeah, that kind of young person who wants to save everyone from their own foibles, which is absolutely ridiculous. That is more of an interference along someone's journey. And sometimes they do have to hit the wall. Sometimes they do have to go through a relationship that doesn't work out because that's super, super important. So Cassandra is running through the city, much like I did, telling everyone, the Troy is falling and this is not going to happen. And nobody listened. They just thought she was insane. So there was a big period of my life where, as the priestess, I was not, very mature. I was not calm like this person. So, by the way, I like to use my own personal stories. I think I've mentioned this before. I use my own personal stories, but I also sometimes use an amalgam of experiences that I've had over years and years of working with people, tens of thousands of hours, not just 10,000 hours of working and talking with people. And over that time, gain some insights, and also I can extrapolate from when I've seen people do things. Sometimes I'll give you stories of other people, but most of the time I'll put it towards myself. So people understand we're all in this together. I'm not doing it because, I'm special or anything, and I'm not doing it because, I ignore anyone else. It's more about we all go through these things. So let's see what the second card is. What lesson is the world being asked to learn right now? So first, intuition, especially in to use that gut response rather than just go into emotions. Now this one is the Maiden of Cups. Fascinating. So she's the one who might delicately manage the emotions. You can almost see that, like, the priestess is holding the cup, and you can feel as though she can manage it, wade through it, even if the cup starts to jiggle. She has a good grasp on it. The maiden looks as though she's holding it and not as secure. So this is where emotions can be. Sorry, I think it's going in the wrong direction. Emotions can overcome her. Yeah, they can overcome her. So behind her would be the priestess encouraging her to go and experience her emotions, but also she needs a lot of encouragement. So the message that we need is to the young people who have not yet experienced the world, haven't made all these mistakes that, us crones have made, like myself, or the sage. Uh, if you look at the masculine, the guru, the grandfather imagery, and the crone imagery, that you can look at and see that we have made a lot of those mistakes, and we can give you that information. It doesn't mean we can stop you, and it doesn't mean that that it's meant to stop someone from doing something, from spilling the milk. We're not doing that. What we're doing is giving more information. So when you step into the next part of your life, you still have to deal with that emotional swing, or the emotions that can be fragile, or the delicacy of oneself, and one's emotional world will have to deal with it, but you still need to know that ultimately there is a gut response, right? Because when the emotions are overtaken or kidnapped or hijacked by the mind, they can be hijacked. So once they're hijacked, so let's say you're going around as this delicate little girl, this men and women, it doesn't matter. This is the feminine within. So even men, even the toughest of the tough guy, can have some areas where those emotions are fragile. Like if you see a super tough guy and he goes, "I'm not emotional. I'm not," oftentimes they're protecting themselves from the world, and there can always be that woman who they fall in love with and hurts them, so they could put on a bravado or strong air. Or you see a lot of men who are strong out there, and their wives say, "Yeah, but he's really just a teddy bear," So we can't think that this is all in variations, right? Someone could actually, I'd be more the kind of person who has all my emotions out there, and I'm holding them, and I'll let everybody see them, which is probably not a good thing, but I do let them see them. Like what I do here, I'm letting everyone know all my weaknesses, etc. And that's just to help us all out. Going, we all have these weaknesses. Now I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably, more than likely that people will have ammunition to criticize me. Which people do. Well, I've experienced that a lot. Maybe not so much uh, in doing this work, but in all the work I've done in my life, there's been criticism, and then later on, people will come back and go, "Thank you for all the things that you shared and you helped me out with." Because we need people to go through the difficulties, pass through them, and come out the other end, where they actually figured it out. That's what you want to be able to be doing with your life, whether you're the strong guy who's got a few areas where the emotions are un unobserved, I would say, or we're not aware of all those components, or we feel like there's an insecurity that's in there that can't be dealt with. We can rely on the gut brain, and I would say more than often than not, our partners, when they have a strong intuition, they're going to help us out. Like I'm the strong intuition in my partnership with my man, but in doing so, it helps his intuition get strong. So when I really, really need his intuition, I can rely on it. But the majority of the time, we're relying on my intuition. Yeah. So hopefully that helps out. Let's see what the last card is. It's interesting. It's two character cards. And this one is the Six of Wands. So that also is interesting because the Six of Wands, even if we put it as the third card, but I felt like I needed to put it on top. So that means that a little bit of that fire can go and boil up some of the emotions. So when we've got a lot of emotion sitting around, you need a little bit of fire to dry it out, so it's not so all over the place. So this is basically communicating. We need to deal with our emotional world, not just holding them, delicately, or it's going to spill all over the place, or we could become super defensive, or we could be, super defensive or super offensive. Both are a defense. So we could be offensive or defensive. So that's Six of Wands. Six is usually about wisdom, but that's a heavy but. If you think 666, that can be the sign of the devil, which is when we're totally blind or we're making a bad deal, right? We can make a terrible deal that leaves you in a horrible place for the rest of your life. So this is telling us, look, evaporate some of that emotion. Let's go back to the question: what lesson is the world being asked to learn right now? Evaporate some of that emotion. The emotion isn't so necessary behind everything. You don't need the emotion to push everything, or else you're obviously not going to use your creative ability in the right direction. You may use it to go into offense or defense. So that's a big lesson to learn. All right. Well, hopefully that helped you out. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions you'd like me to ask or anything you'd like me to elaborate on as we do this work. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.